healthy enough, which would include like in shape enough to do the things that I want to do that make me happy, and I'm not held back because of something that my body can't do. So I've got to be strong enough to be able to go on walks with my kids, or go play with my kids, or go on a hike with my husband. And I've got to be healthy enough that I didn't just eat so much crap that I don't have the energy to do something. So
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Basson with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And we have the most amazing of athletes here with us today, April Phillips. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Welcome.
Most amazing.
The most amazingest?
Official title.
Official.
Most amazing-er? Most amazing.
Most
That's what it is.
amazing. I'll take it.
Yep. Well, welcome. Glad you can make it in on this fine rainy day.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's February and it's 70 degrees out, so everyone's going to feel real great tomorrow.
So let's breach the topic of global warming. What are your thoughts? That's not a real question.
Well, we'll start off. I don't really know a whole lot about you, April. We've talked a lot, but you have a guard up all the time, so I can't really.
Wall.
It's a brick wall. Yeah.
It's because I'm waiting to attack and get you back. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you owe me one.
I do. I owe you one or two.
Are you from the area?
I am. So I grew up in Fairfield, Ohio.
Did you really?
Yep. Graduated.
I'm going to ask
from
you a
there.
very Cincinnati question. Where'd you go to high school?
Fairfield.
You went to Fairfield?
Yeah.
I used to work out I worked at Whitten Woods for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I was a graphic specialist there.
You were close.
Yeah.
As a non-Cincinnatianitist,
Nidist.
is that considered west side, or is that like north of the city?
It's north, so it's about an hour from Dayton.
Okay.
Hour from downtown. Maybe.
Yeah. No.
40.
Yeah. I could see that.
I lived out. Like I was on the edge of Hamilton. And
Oh,
Fairfield.
yeah. They just put a new, did you ever go down? I used to run files for my CPA that my mom worked for out to Hamilton. Hamilton's a weird city.
It is a city.
End
It's
quote.
official.
Is it an actual city?
It's an actual
weird
city.
it's like if you think of like just what would be the bare minimum requirement to be called a city, that's what Hamilton is. It's like it's the
Not to offend anybody from Hamilton who might be listening
We
to
have a
this.
lot of listeners actually in the city of Hamilton.
Yeah, there
a
you
lot
go.
of Hamilton City residents.
Yeah.
But they just put a brewery in called Municipal Brew Works, where they took the old municipal building and put a brewery in there, which I want to head out to.
Yeah. I know. I haven't been through there in probably a couple years.
It's a cool little area. It was just so small. It was weird because like you feel like you're driving through a city. There's tall enough buildings for it to be a city, but like it's very, very small. We'll start over. It's fine.
That's all right. We'll just start over. No coughing allowed.
So you're from Hamilton, or from Fairfield.
Yeah.
How do you end up out this way?
So yeah, I actually went to NKU when I graduated, and then I went to Cincinnati State, and then I went to UC. I just couldn't get enough, apparently, of college.
Were you a career student?
A little bit.
What'd you do at NKU then? Since like, what was it under the same heading like for studies?
I was one of those kids that couldn't figure out what I wanted, so I did a lot of just took classes that interested me, and then finally sat on education, early ed.
That's kind of cool. Like, what kind of stuff did you go through?
Well, by the time I graduated, I was just a few classes short of like 4 different degrees because I just kept taking classes.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I loved like anatomy classes, and then I would take social work classes, and then I would take education classes, and
And
I'm not a good student, so I don't know why I was doing all of
tortured
that.
yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't smart. But yeah, so I'm familiar with this area, and then Terry, my husband, works for Crossroads, and they opened a new site in Florence 5.5 years ago. So we moved down to this area from the east side where we were currently living to come down and be here in Florence. So now this is my home.
Yeah.
What does your husband do for a living?
So my husband is the pastor of Crossroads Florence, and I actually work there too. I'm the reach out director, so I get to just basically love on the community. I have a really cool job. Not as cool as you guys, but I have a cool job.
Oh, you're being humble. Yeah, Crossroads has an amazing community. That's how we got kind of connected. And I kind of was smiling there when I asked you that question because I know what your husband does.
I know.
He's fantastic at what he does and really good leader. Probably I can say the same for you within that community of putting together a lot of different things. And it's really amazing to see the development of what that community has done, not only for me personally, but just for so many people in this area. So anyway, kudos to you guys for rocking it.
Thanks. Yeah, we were asked just yesterday if we got the chance to move, would we? And I've pretty much in the last few months put my foot down and said no.
Ooh,
I like Florence. Like, it's become home. Our friends and family are here, and
that's cool.
you guys are here, and
Well, we're the main reason most
You're the
people
main
stay.
reason.
Yeah.
I think, bar none. If you
Definitely.
ask 90% of the people in Florence, Kentucky, why they're here, it's
Yeah.
because of this little building. I'm
not
kidding.
kids'
Not at all.
schools, you guys.
90% of the time, 30% of the people say.
So how did you, so it's 5.5 years ago, how did everything with Crossroads kind of come to fruition for both of you, I guess?
Yeah. I wasn't working for Crossroads. I was working for PNC Bank when we moved. Terry did reach out. He actually did similar stuff that I do now. And Crossroads was looking to expand, and they were already meeting in Mason, and they thought Florence would be a good place. The Old Time Pottery Barn is where we're located. So that building was up for sale, and so they purchased it and said, hey.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, Old Time Pottery.
That's actually news to me.
Yeah. So yeah, we came down.
I heard whenever I asked what the building used to be, they said it's like, think of a knockoff Home Depot or something. And I don't remember them saying that name, but anyway, it's
It's
a very
when we
interesting
lived
building.
on the east side, I would come to Florence to shop because it was just quiet and it wasn't busy.
And it wasn't the east side.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the east side. There's not a lot of, now there's a lot of stuff there,
Yeah.
but there wasn't.
Don't start any turf wars here.
That's
Yeah.
right. East side.
I used to work in Rookwood. That place is awful. It really is. I'm sorry.
Well, east side is east side.
Yeah.
So Anderson and all
Oh,
that.
okay, so farther
yeah.
out,
Yeah,
yeah.
further out.
I consider Hyde Park and all that east side.
It's not.
It's no, sorry.
And they
I did
don't.
not.
Yeah, you might start to
Ooh,
turf war
wow.
there. I'm just saying.
I'm going to start a turf war, not even being part of it.
Exactly. You won't even know that you started something.
I like it.
So yeah.
So what kind of outreach stuff do you do?
Basically anything that involves the local community. So I get to do
And local being like just Florence,
Northern Kentucky.
Northern Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah. So like this afternoon, I'm going to go to our Whiz Kids tutoring program. So it's an after-school program at Collins where we tutor 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So I run that program and actually tutor a little girl named Ari this year. And then we do Thanksgiving food drive, which you guys are familiar with. You guys collect cans for that. Angel Tree, which is where we purchase gifts for kids who their mom and dad are incarcerated, or a lot of times it's for organizations that are local that just need help, the foster care system and stuff. And then, it's really cool stuff like that. If it benefits the community, I get to do it.
Yeah.
And I basically get to
Is
love
that
on
kind of
people.
something that you kind of get to direct as far as where you're going to put your efforts, or is it kind of decided that, hey, we're going to do this Angel Tree thing, or do you get to like kind of pick and choose that, like, oh, I think this would be a really great program for us to look into?
Yeah. Since we have so many sites, we try to keep things like streamlined across all the sites.
Kind of uniform.
Yeah, so if you
Right.
go during Thanksgiving food drive, you'll see Thanksgiving food drive happening at every site.
Right.
But I do get to choose like basically who we get to love on and who we get to help, which is really neat. So I get to meet all kinds of organizations, and I tell people all I do is help people. Like I rarely have to tell somebody no. So I get to choose who we're going to help and who we're going to build into.
That's pretty awesome.
It is pretty cool.
It's a pretty very fulfilling job as well, and I think we've had a lot of people on here, and I think the people that have talked about really enjoying what they do, whatever their line of work may be, that word fulfillment comes up 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Because and we've also had people who are transitioning in and or out of a job that they may have thought was going to be very fulfilling but wasn't.
Yeah.
Or transferring into a job that they're excited because they feel like that it's going to be one of those positions where they can actually feel fulfilled in what they're doing and not just pushing papers or just being a number, so
Absolutely.
to speak.
And that's kind of how we attended Crossroads, but that's kind of how we both came on staff, is these opportunities arose. And a lot of times you wait until you're later in your career, and then you're like, okay, now I'll do what I really want to do. And you take, a pay cut or whatever it may be just to do it. We looked at it more of like, we've got skills that we can use later if we want to go back to the corporate world. So why not do what we love to do and what we're actually made to do?
Sure.
Right now.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about a lot. It's like worst case scenario, first world problems. If we got a business here, unfortunately with our business, we both have degrees and skill sets, whether we know it or not, and we can go get a job.
Yeah.
People are generally hiring, right? That's one of the problems. I was just talking to a guy the other day. I was mentioning this to Jared a second ago before we went on here, but he was saying he knows a lot of home builders, and a lot of home builders are like backlogged, supposedly in this area right now, because they just can't find, whatever you want to title every generation, right? Millennials are the big one now. Younger folk, whatever you want to call them, that want to do laborious work, labor intensive. Like, I don't want to do that. Guess what? It still pays really well. If you map it out, everything's kind of cyclical in life, but it's only the few, I guess, kind of fortunate people that really can swallow their pride sometimes, take that pay cut or whatever, what have you, to really try to pursue something fulfilling. And it's never streamlined. I'm sure you've had your bumps along the way and so on and so forth. And but yeah.
Well, two things. I think you're being, like you said, a lot of people will do that later in life. They retire, they have more time. Well, now I'll go and give back. Not that you don't have the energy, because a lot of people who have a lot of energy that are, retired now, but like being under the age of 65, you're going to have a lot more energy to put towards something than if you were, later on in life and then trying to give back. And to speak of what Mark said, yeah, absolutely. The skills gap is pretty unreal. Like you said, things go in these cyclical natures where at one point it was your return on investment on a college degree was very high. Now it's somewhat lower than what it used to be. Not that you don't need one, but for a lot of people, you can also make a living not doing it. But like Mark said, there's not a lot of people who want to put the sweat equity into something that's going to require them to do some manual labor.
Yeah, and it's healthier too. I mean, if you're doing something that you love and that you feel is genuine and that you're passionate about, you're going to do it better, and it's not going to cause you stress like other jobs will.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a whole nother conversation about finding what's right for you. But there's something to be said about those manual labor type jobs where there's a very, very fulfilling zone that you get in when you are doing something that is manually intensive.
Yeah.
We know that when lifting, but it was very, very fulfilling to put this place together in a week. It was exhausting, but it was very fulfilling as well, because you literally got to watch this place transform before your eyes. And I feel like you're doing that with the people you work with. It may not be always manual labor intensive, but you get to see that transformation happen. Whether you're giving someone the food they may need for the season, or giving them the skills they need with tutoring.
Yeah, and I'm lucky to see sometimes what happens afterwards, but a lot of times you don't get to see where your work has changed their life.
Especially like a tutoring thing, you're not going to know when they're 18 how what you did affected them.
Yeah, but a lot of times you do. Like, I have an entire shelf on my desk that's just thank you notes and pictures, and it's like, colored notes from kids that received gifts, or go local projects where like, hey, we couldn't have opened our site if you weren't here to like fix this and this. So it's really neat.
That's pretty
cool.
awesome. What kind of brings us to us, because you've been with us for
Whoa.
A year. Yeah, I got my little year
Is that our
anniversary thing a couple weeks
Aw,
ago.
That's cute. How did you find us? How did we kind of get connected?
Yeah. So Mark would volunteer at Crossroads on Thursday mornings with our facilities guys and his dude clan there. And I got to talking to Mark because I wanted to start some kind of class at church for women to come to who, one, were afraid of the gym because it can be a scary place to a lot of people, or two, just didn't have the time or money to get into the gym. So Mark and another volunteer, Charlie, and I would kind of every blue moon talk about some ideas and run that by. And he was talking about Triumph and how I should come out. And honestly, CrossFit scared me because only of what I've seen, like all this really heavy, intense lifting.
And you have a bit of a medical condition as well, correct?
Yeah.
And what does that involve for you as far as, because I know I've gotten a very small skimming of what, everything that happens, but explain a little bit.
So I have EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's a connective tissue disorder. There's 13 of them, and it affects basically my joints, my circulation, my skin. There's a lot to go with it. So growing up, I literally would get hurt and dislocate bones super easy. I've dislocated my knees 13 times, my pelvis 3 times. Like,
You said 13?
yeah.
That's double digits. If you're not listening, say that again. 13?
Yeah, 13 knees and
If anyone's
pelvis 3
ever
times.
dislocated anything before.
Oh, it's so painful. And the first time I ever did my kneecap was sitting on the back of my leg. So it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
The good thing about this disorder is your soft tissue is super flexible. So I don't tear, like you would probably tear every tendon and anything that's attached. I don't tear them. They just stretch whenever I do stuff like that. But I have to repair them and I have to make them strong. And so, when Mark and I were talking, I was just like, hey, I've got this going on and I need to work out in order to stay healthy. I literally feel like I'll fall apart if I'm not strong. And working out, there's not like cures for it. So you basically try to maintain symptoms, and definitely working out and keeping your muscle tone is a huge factor if you want to be healthier. So that was really important.
That's obviously that's across the board, but especially in your case.
Yeah.
So were you doing anything prior?
So I used to work for Bally's, and I've always worked out. I loved working out.
Bally's, huh?
Yeah, when Bally's was around, I ran 3.
It was Bally's, then Gold's.
Yes.
Bought Bally's.
Yes.
And man,
It was a while ago.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So I have always worked out. I wasn't able to like play sports and like be on teams.
Yeah, I
necessarily
can't
when I was
imagine
younger.
cutting quickly on the turf or something like that is going to be conducive for
And
joints.
the first time when I dislocated my knee so bad was just practicing with a dance team, like just messing around. So any kind of sport really wasn't something that I could do.
So how did that mentally? What is that like? Like, because I can wrap my head around injury, like I'm currently injured. Mark's been injured before, and it sucks. Like it sucks bad. But like, what is that mentally like to know that? Well, this is just something that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of people here that, not here, I shouldn't say, but like you said, there are women and people you were dealing with that were just scared of the gym because it was intimidating.
Yeah.
What is that like, knowing that like I may be injured, but I know that I have to do something
Yeah.
to keep myself healthy?
Yeah, I talk to people all the time whenever I'm talking about Triumph or like inviting people, and they're like, oh, I'll get hurt, or like, oh, that's going to be too tough. And I'm like, no, you guys are super good about letting me modify things or watching out for me. So my guard is always up basically, and I've always had in the back of my mind whenever I see something like I'm gonna get hurt if I even try to do
Right,
that.
right.
So it does make you a lot more timid to want to try things if it's anything physical.
Sure.
And my daughter has had 22 casts in 2 years. So
That's got to be a record.
yeah, she is progressing a lot faster. So I didn't even think about that stuff with her, but they've actually brought it up. Like, you have to watch out for her mental state as far as like you don't want to get disappointed every time you try to do something and you get hurt.
Because you're gonna go like just feel like you're gonna step off the curb and something's gonna break.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there mentally.
Yeah. So it's been really, really good here because I've loved working out my entire life. I'd always for fun work out. Like that's just what I did. But you guys have helped me be able to work out and not get hurt, to push my body to get stronger. And again, not get hurt, which wasn't the trend.
Right.
Like if I push
think
myself.
I think one of the biggest goals of working out should be not get hurt.
Yeah.
And us, honestly, as trainers are not doing our job properly if people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
And inevitably it's going to happen. And obviously with you have a heightened sense of awareness around your sensitivities to certain things that might impact your knees, so on and so forth. And it ultimately, whether it's physical, mental, whatever you're doing, it comes around to that self-awareness, a word that comes up a lot. So for you, it's that heightened self-awareness of like, oh, you know what? Hey, this is a new thing. And you definitely strike me as someone that's never going to back away from a challenge. Absolutely not, whatever the scenario. So you're like, hey, you know what? Because I do remember our early conversations, and I think they were a little more towards like, hey, I need a personal trainer, and then I was like, well, come in. I think the first day, literally, you came in, it was like around 9:30. And I think I kind of intentionally did that so you could see the 9:30 class
It was
of those women.
Class. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, they don't all have six packs and
Yeah.
all this stuff because all these stereotypes and horror stories.
Yeah.
But kind of where I'm going with your journey here over the last year. I know there was one day in particular that sticks out with doing the handstand. It was like, obviously that was an episode that we learned from and dealt with, and it was unfortunate. You basically got dizzy, and you ended up having to go see someone. Did you go to the hospital?
Oh, I see. I stayed a couple days in the
Oh,
hospital.
yeah. So that kind of induced that. So it's like, but again, I think I remember, I don't know, it was probably less than a month later where like handstands came up again. That's basically what we did. We were doing a handstand, or I think, yeah. And you're like, I could see you kind of wanting to do it, and I'm just like, April, don't do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, I should probably back off.
It stinks because there's not a lot of stuff here that I'm good at per se. I can do handstands, and it was like I was
the same thing.
grooving on that workout, and then it all went bad.
And again, it's not anything that you were doing or not doing. It just happened.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know kind of thing, and it's one of those things where there's certain movements that bother everyone, and it's hey, guess what?
Yeah.
File that away under movements that I should have a heightened sensitivity around, and it's like but again, there's always ways to modify it. So I think that's the biggest thing whenever people start with a new program or you're just doing anything new. Like, hey, I'm going to go skiing. Like, I've never gone skiing before. Guess what? Start off with a beginner hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I went down the diamond and I broke my neck.
Yeah.
It's like, that's for people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So but sometimes you don't know, like, I didn't know diamond meant difficult, or, it's.
And I think with working out, your ego gets way
for
ahead
sure.
of your abilities way too much. And I think it's super important to learn how to do something correctly and then challenge yourself, but learn how to do it correctly first.
And when I hear there is patience.
Yeah.
Like, have patience.
Yeah.
It's not going to snap your fingers. And again, the low-hanging fruit, again, with a lot of people that will come in here, you'll see people that maybe look like you or around your same age or build or whatever. And they're like, well, they can do it. And it's like, well, they've been here for 4 years.
Yeah. And I do that. I like when someone's, doing something really well. I'm like, how long have you been here? And like, it's usually a decently high number. And I'm like, okay.
And that's a smart thing to do, is just ask that person. Because like, a lot of times it will be, well, if they've got 3 to 5 years under their belt, I always tell people whenever they first start, you're teaching your body a different language. It's like if you just walked in and said, I'm going to learn Spanish and expect to learn Spanish in 6 months, it's probably not going to happen for a lot of people. So it's the same thing with this. If you've never done because kipping pull is probably the easiest example of like, you're going to hurt yourself. If you do it incorrectly and you try and speed things up, then there's a higher chance that you may injure yourself. But taking the proper steps, knock on wood, I've done probably tens of thousands of pull-ups in the last 7 years, and luckily have not had a problem with them. But at the same time, it's been almost 10 years now. So you learn. Your body learns how to move correctly, and that's one of the big things that we try and teach is how to physically move your body correctly, and that body awareness that starts at a very young age. I know Mark can talk to a couple of the kids that he's trained along the way, and it's like I watch those kids now, and it's like it's night and day. It's unbelievable what when you tell them to do something and they can just now do it because their bodies memorize the movement. And 100%. Before I came, I loved working out, lifting. I hate cardio. Chris will tell you I hate cardio.
Who really likes cardio?
I don't know. There are people, I think.
Mental illnesses.
And it's honestly because I do. I need a lot more cardio.
Me too.
Because then I would get better at it. But even before coming here, I knew a lot of the movements. I may not have remembered like what their name was and stuff, but it doesn't mean I was doing it correctly. And you guys have been able to literally like watch and go, okay, push down on your big toe, or like lean back on your heels, or like do this. And just those tiny little changes that I would not have done myself feel completely different and allow me to do it without hurting myself.
It's nice. Again, that's why everyone needs a coach. That's why we need a coach. Because we have to have those people there telling us to do those things, because even we forget sometimes. I think that, again, the people that are listening that are thinking that something's going to be impossible just because someone else does it so well is understandable, but from our end is also absolutely silly. It's hard to tell someone that, but I wish that people would take the first step to basically making a huge change in their life, because again, the fitness almost becomes secondary when it comes to being a part of a bigger community, dialing in nutrition. The old adage is abs are made in the kitchen. Everyone wants to look good and feel good, but the reality is this becomes a supplement to what really makes that happen, which is your nutrition.
Well, and if you're working out, you naturally start to tend to make better choices everywhere else. And
because you know that if I eat this giant gallon of ice cream, I'm probably not going to perform my best tomorrow. And if performing at my best tomorrow is something that is important to me, I want to make a better decision with what I'm eating.
Absolutely.
So as far as how has basically CrossFit kind of bled into your daily life, or has it? Because for a lot of people, it, like you said, it becomes those eating habits, but it also becomes a lot of different family time. I think maybe some family time can become more active. Like I know your husband's been in here.
And my daughter's a little obsessed.
Your daughter's is hilarious.
You guys may have done the family class, but I'm pretty sure Lydia was gonna keep harassing you if you didn't.
She's very persistent.
Yes.
She's adorable.
She is pretty awesome. It's definitely like I try to make time for it, like, and make it a priority. There are seasons where I don't do it as often as what I'd like.
I can imagine like a Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Yeah, that's a little
hard. Pretty tough, right?
You don't eat paleo for Thanksgiving?
I've done a vegetarian Thanksgiving before. That didn't go over very well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was a vegetarian for 23 years.
Whoa, let's talk about that.
But
Holy
I
crap.
love meat now.
Oh yeah, like one
Yeah.
bite.
How long ago was
Yeah.
the 23 years stop?
At 23. I mean, I grew up on a horse farm. We had like deers hanging on the trees, rabbits in the
just like
freezer.
traumatized or something.
I've just been an animal lover. I didn't like the taste. I didn't like the texture. There was nothing about any kind of, even egg, nothing. Didn't like any of it. And I loved vegetables and everything else. And then, yeah,
I think there is something to be said about if you've ever seen something being slaughtered or
there's
killed,
a difference.
or you've
Yeah.
you've killed your own food.
Yeah.
It makes a massive difference on what you're eating. You know, 'cause there's a couple here that they'll go and hunt, and you know, that will be their meat for the month. You know, but you know, it's like we're going to use every bit of this because I took its life.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a huge difference in those two things than if you're just going to buy chicken breast from Kroger.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I like, my friends laugh at me, but I take my kids to the meat section, and I'm like, this is what this is. And
Yeah.
This is what this is. And,
Oh, it's. I think you
That's
absolutely.
cool.
That you
And-
absolutely need
yeah.
to know where your food comes
yeah,
from.
and they're not grossed out. Like, I'm actually surprised they're not.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah,
You're
that's,
trying to
that's
gross
a
it out.
good pig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love bacon, but
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely become more of it's on my schedule, and it has a place on my schedule.
Yeah.
Definitely getting the family more. I always want my family to be active, not just for like the health benefits, but I want us to do activities together. And you know, winter's hard, so like coming into the gym is great. I want my kids to like to exercise. We have lots of conversations where my kids just ask, like, well, why do you need to exercise? Or like, why can't I have pop and or this or that? And I'm like, I try to give them reasonable explanations like early so that hopefully they can make better choices.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be scientific, but
Yeah.
you can lay it out, you know, in a pretty easy to understand manner that, you know, it's being sedentary is not good.
Yeah, and
You
I
know.
mean, with Lydia and I, Lydia's 8, so she already understands the benefit of exercise on her body.
Yeah.
She was a competitive gymnast, can't do that anymore, so she knows she has to strength train and constantly work on that stuff. Where I can see with Tyson plays ice hockey. He's not in love with exercise like Lydia and I, but I can see where if you're little and you can see the health benefits, then hopefully it's a lifelong journey that you'll take, where I'd have to convince somebody who didn't need it.
I'll tell you what, that's a mission I can get behind. You know, trying to figure out how to have a fundamental component of fitness and nutrition in a family embedded in it to the point where it's like, you know, for me growing up, you know, every Sunday we went to church, you know, and it's like if that was one of those things where every Saturday we go to the gym, you know, and mom and dad's out there and they're working out and they're sweating, like, man, I can really get behind that mission because it's you know, obviously we're biased here. We're sitting here in a strength conditioning gym, but we know the benefits. Not only does it do physically, but just mentally. When you talk about, you know, we can get off on a tangent on just the stresses of day-to-day life and how you need to just shut the old brain off for an hour and have some fun and chop it up with some folks that are like-minded.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And my husband definitely, like, when I finally was like, all right, Mark, I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about this place. I mean, my husband was like, you like to exercise, and exercise helps me get my brain to shut down.
I remember this.
And
now.
it helps me be a nicer person.
Yeah.
I need those breaks.
There's a legitimate dopamine effect.
Yeah.
I mean, just ask any person who's ever walked in the door and said, "There's no way I'm going to be able to do this." Ask any one of them when they left that day how they felt after they did it.
Yeah.
And 100% of the time they're going to go, "I feel great." You know, like.
And I lived.
I lived. You know,
Yeah.
the worst case scenario, they're going to go, I actually feel like I could have pushed harder. You know, so many times people count themselves out before they even start, and you know, it's so rewarding to just fight through something and fight through the suck with other people at the same time. That just builds this awesome feeling and this awesome community that can't be replicated.
Well, in your workouts, no matter how long you've been here, there's not anybody that's like not sweating and breezing through it and sitting down.
I
Like,
tell people-
everybody is suffering together, you know?
Day one, I tell people, because it's an actual question that comes up pretty regularly, which is, when does this get easier? And it doesn't get easier. You just get better at it.
Yeah.
And it's so if XYZ takes you 10 minutes, well, XYZ is going to be equally as hard. If you're fitter, it just takes you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's really all it comes down to. You just do everything faster and heavier.
Yeah. Well,
But-
and you guys, you show your videos or you put the workouts out there, and I refuse to look at them because I'll get intimidated
Sure.
before I
It's a
can even come
double-edged
to the
sword.
gym. It is.
Yeah.
No, it's great. A lot of people want to know like what they're doing before they come in, and I honestly want to be surprised because I'll talk myself out of it.
Oh, yeah.
If it looks way too difficult.
Yeah.
I'll do that sometimes too. Just as a trainer, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I've done it too,
Yeah.
But at the same time, after you do it, you go, oh, okay, I lift.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
lived.
and I think
survived.
that's again, I like drawing a lot of correlations between what we do here and just life. It's like I'm just gonna avoid having that conversation with my spouse. It's like, oh, okay, you probably need to, and there's probably some fruit there.
Yeah.
Because so many people are like, well, it's running today. I hate running, so I'm just not gonna go. Oh, running came up again. Not gonna go.
Yeah.
Oh, came up again. And it's like
We've actually
constantly there.
joked about that idea of like, because you can tell the people who like running, they'll show up for those days. The people who consistently never show up for running days, and it was like, what if we just kept like every day? Because every
Running.
day
Or
just
it's like
running.
we're going to program a max, or I'm sorry, run a 5K, and then when everyone shows up, it's going to be max deadlift.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I thought I was running.
Right.
It's like, nope. You got to, again, that's the whole kind of premise of CrossFit. Again, is we want you to be a jack of all trades. We want you to be able to be well-rounded. And there's been again a lot of people on this the podcast when we asked you about fitness. It's like, I want to be able to move and be active. So whenever I respect the heck out of running a marathon. I respect the heck out of deadlifting 1,000 pounds. But in each of those scenarios, you're specializing. If you're an elite kind of powerlifter, or if you're an elite marathon runner. And I think, what we're offering and appealing to in the day-to-day lives is an efficient program that you're going to get a full body kind of workout with. And you're going to get, again, that community aspect of it. So, and if you're coming consistently and engaging with the workouts, there's going to be some days where we can be confused with a powerlifting gym, and there's going to be some days where we can be confused with just an endurance-based gym. So you have to sprinkle in all those components.
Yeah, and it's good to have the variety. I mean, like I'm not a fan of cardio, but I need it.
You understand? Yeah, it
I
has its
need
place.
it. I mean, it's good to have variety so that every day you're working on something different.
Well, there's the old unknown and unknowable aspect to it, and I actually mentioned to Mark that Dennis Prager quote from the other day where it was like, no one cares how you feel, everyone cares about how you act. And I think we've literally had done that where it was XYZ on the board or written, and people show up and it's a different workout. Or
Yeah, you guys held them
I remember
hostage. They're
remember
mysteries.
I remember one day, everyone was kind of gaming this little workout. It was at the old gym, and it was an 800-meter run. And I went through and stripped the weight off of everyone's bar and threw all the weight around. And you watch some people come in and they just go right to their bar and start loading the plates back on, and other people throwing their hands up in the air, exclaiming that this was unfair and how stupid this was, and and it's like, it may sound silly to some. I don't think it's silly at all. I think it's a very important part of what we do, but we're trying to teach people life lessons on how to deal with issues. Like none of us, hopefully none of this table think that life is fair. Like life is completely
No.
unfair. And
I
almost
tell my kids that all the time.
every aspect, and
Yeah.
it's like, if you throw your hands up every time something goes wrong, like, I get it. You can have your, I just went through this injury. It's like, I had my pity party. Like, it's over. Everything's going to be fine. I'm still living, but it's like, you have to move on and find a plan of action to correct whatever is wrong.
Yeah.
And that's something that we try and instill in people through fitness.
You can control your reaction, right? To whatever scenario, whatever happens, you're in.
You want to
100
teach that to my son?
Yeah, well, So
Yeah.
you know, fair
Well,
point.
It's your reaction and your outlook.
Mhm.
I mean, those two things go together,
Sure.
and super important. It's important in fitness or anything else. I don't know. You gotta feel good, and you're not gonna feel good if you're not healthy in some kind of aspect, whatever healthy looks like
Yeah.
in your body.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely life lessons to be learned here, and hopefully if anyone's listening, like there are reasons why we do some of this stuff that may seem like we're just doing it to like trick people into fitness or, you know, do stuff to annoy them. Like there's legitimate reasons on why we do certain things here, and hopefully people notice that.
You guys genuinely care. I mean, I've gone to lots of gyms, and
They believe us, Mark.
I know. I've worked for gyms before where it was the number of people coming or the memberships or the money that you're bringing, and that's like they didn't even care if people used it. They didn't care if they needed it. And it's like, no, you guys ask questions like straight up front, like what are you looking for, what do you need, and that's going to change as you're in here. So then you modify what you're. I'm not like a goal on the board person, but goals in my head might be like to be able to go through a workout like the person who's been here for 3 years, and I know I'll get there. But you guys genuinely care. I mean, you check in, and when things are going on, you're like, well, it's okay. Like we'll help you work out. We'll make it work.
Always something to do.
Yeah.
If you are listening, just realize that it does not matter what the issue is. There is always something you can do physically that will improve your health.
Yeah. I think people get stuck on, well, I've got an injury, or well, I've got a bad back, or well, I'm not ready to go to the gym because I'm going to wait until I get to this weight.
Yeah.
Like you put all these other things in front of you.
Brian just talked about it on main stage. That's an optional answer. It's optional, so you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if fitness is optional to you, you're not going to do it. You have to make it habitual. It has to be, like I said, that's a mission I can get behind. It has to start almost from an early age, you know. And again, it doesn't have to be, you have to exercise every day to complete exhaustion and a puddle of sweat. Maybe just go for a run around the block.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you start.
That's the other thing too, is like there are levels to this. Like, you know, you talked about there's things that you're going to find that just aren't going to be conducive for you. Like pistols are not conducive, and heavy deadlifts are not conducive for me personally. Can I be a fit individual and not do them? Yeah. Should I practice them from time to time? Absolutely. But like, do I need to like zero in and like only focus on that because I'm not a well-rounded enough athlete otherwise? No, absolutely not. So there's levels to it. Like you can absolutely be 100% fit, and like Mark said, not be dragging yourself out of here every time you leave, because that's also another really good way to get injured.
Yeah.
You know.
Like pushing it.
One of my favorite things, is a short tangent, is people will do the workout and then I don't know, let's just say that it wasn't like a gut buster day, and they're just like, I didn't feel like I got to work out, and then like this immediately start doing more stuff, which again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but my immediate like reaction to that, and it's not always right, it's just my reaction personally, is like, you don't get it. Like if we just do, let's just say a weightlifting day, and it's maybe a little slower paced and it's conversational, and should be going hard. Let's just say it's 5 sets of 5 squats, and we're telling you to build up every set, and you're just kind of casually going through, and this is stupid or whatever, and then you get done with the last set, and it's like, oh, is that it? That's it, huh? Oh, well,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go run a 5K.
Yeah, I'm gonna go run. And again, there's look, different strokes, different folks, all those cliches, but at the end of the day, you have to buy in to trusting us, like April's openly admitted now on this podcast. Wow, holy crap, we'll save that. But in a non-joking way, but you have to trust the process.
Yeah.
John Wooden, one of the best. I'm sorry, it's Vince Lombardi. I think John Wooden. No, let's use the John Wooden example. John Wooden, the first day of practice for UCLA basketball, teaches his players how to tie their shoes.
so that they're right. and
Exactly.
they're not untied.
Like, hey, yeah, because guess what? In an important game, if your shoe come untied, it might not be good. So and you're talking about a guy that won however many national titles in a row.
He's not jumping right to the sexy stuff.
Well, and if it's just me walking in, Joe Schmo off the street, and it's like, all right, guys, we're the top program in the country. Take your shoes off. All right, we're gonna show you how to tie them. It's gonna be like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
this is a
I'm
waste of
gonna
my
go
time.
shoot some 3-pointers, man. You guys tie your shoes. So just because we're not shooting 3-pointers every day doesn't mean it's still a intricate part of the process.
Yeah, trust is a huge part of it. Like we have trainer meetings twice a week. One of those is almost exclusively devoted to the programming for the following week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're just throwing stuff up in the air and catching it and going, well, there's the workout for the day.
Well, and I'm sure. I mean, you guys.
I'm
are-
not saying you're saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys.
Are you saying that?
Are you
I
saying
might
that?
be saying that. You guys are knowledgeable, and eventually we will see where you're going with it.
Yep.
So we just have to be patient and go, okay, you're making us do these 4 steps, but it's because after I do those 4 steps, like when I put it all together, I'm able to do this move correctly
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
that I may not have been able to do before.
Yeah. That's it. There's, again, got to learn to walk, got to learn to crawl, then walk, then run.
Mm-hmm.
There is a process to it, and unfortunately, as adults, we lose that, or maybe we never had the patience, but we lose that kind of ability to just sit back and learn for a minute.
Because we know better.
Because we know better. That's right. April, I want to ask you just a very simple question. If you've listened to any of these,
She is not.
she is
I've
not.
only listened to portions, but I'm not tech.
That's what everyone. That's what
wise.
everyone says. They're like, "Yeah, I've listened to him." No, I've never heard this question
Portions,
before.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
It's just a very simple question. Just what is your definition of fitness?
What is my definition of fitness? Basically, for me, it means that I am healthy enough, which would include like in shape enough to do the things that I want to do that make me happy, and I'm not held back because of something that my body can't do. So I've got to be strong enough to be able to go on walks with my kids, or go play with my kids, or go on a hike with my husband. And I've got to be healthy enough that I didn't just eat so much crap that I don't have the energy to do something. So
Sounds like there's a little bit of a mental fitness game in there as well.
yeah.
Yeah, because physically there's going to be times you feel like you can't do something, but
Oh,
being
yeah. And
able to-
I'm not I'm not good at those things, so I have to push myself. I mean, like last night, I can overeat with the best of them, and all it does is make me feel like crap.
We'll get lunch sometime soon.
Yeah.
Then.
No, I have to convince myself that this is more important than the other option, and I have to do that on a daily basis. And I know everybody has to do that, but it's making the choice of, well, would you rather not have this, or would you rather do this to be healthier, or not have this so that you feel better? Super important. And I'm constantly trying to teach my kids to hopefully make those choices. Even if you're healthy as a kid, I still want you outside playing in the summer. I don't want you inside, I'm pretty picky about stuff like that.
Good. And no
So-
water outside, right? Oh wait, that was when we grown up. You'll need no water. Make you cramp up, right?
Yeah, no, they get water.
That's good.
Yeah, drink water.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining
Well,
us
thanks for having me.
today. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed having you on. And thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep into the lives of those who make us great. Thank you, April.